So, how do you nurse an injured manatee back to health? After a thorough examination, the next step in treating injured manatees is to take x-rays and perform minor surgery like suturing wounds and repairing fractures. To reduce trauma during treatment, the manatees are placed in special pools with hydraulic floors that lift the animals out of the water. The veterinarians face all kinds of manatee injuries, from damaged tails to deep cuts from propeller blades. But one of the worst and most difficult to treat is blunt trauma from boat collisions.
We've had manatees that have come in with a collapsed lung, and what happens is the front of the boat will hit the manatee on the side, it'll fracture a rib, and the rib will actually puncture the lung. It basically deflates the lung, and so they turn on their side.
To help them compensate or to help control that, what we've developed is a special type of wetsuit that we wrap all the way around the manatee, and we put in pieces of foam on whatever side is down underwater. And what that does is it brings that side of the manatee back up, and it helps them float right.
We actually see one side higher than the other, and when it's like that, they can't eat. And the way to get them to eat is to stabilize them and right them back up in their normal position, and these jackets can help do that. So it's a constant learning process all the time. We're always modifying, always changing. So you've got to be open to innovation, changes, what's new in the field, to make the problems approachable.
Dr. Walsh and the other vets who work with manatees have faced a lot of unique challenges over the years.
The first challenges we faced are we had to learn how to sedate them without hurting them. We then had animals that needed surgery, so we had to work out general anesthesia, which was totally different for us. We had to figure out medications, and then we had to figure out the use of diagnostic techniques like ultrasound.
They also use a technique called thermography to diagnose internal problems. Thermography uses a heat-sensitive camera to scan the manatee's body in search of hot spots that indicate possible infection or trauma.
What we're seeing here is a person's hand, which is much hotter because it hasn't been in water, pointing down to an infection in the flipper of the manatee.
Even with all their advanced medical technology, manatee vets often have to use their professional intuition and experience from working with other species.
Once a manatee starts doing better, we'll let them out of the medical pool and put them into the isolation pool.
The isolation pool is set up so the rehab crew can monitor the manatee's progress and help them make the transition to eating on their own.
Manatees feed on the surface and they feed on the bottom. So just dropping the lettuce in the water, it's going to float, so that takes care of that. But we need to somehow get it on the bottom. And Barb has some lettuce tubes over here that we've made. You can see it's just like a PVC tube, and all we've done is cut out an opening in it, and we put this weight on it. So what we're going to do is slide the lettuce heads into the tray, and we'll just put it in the water, and then that'll sink it.
One manatee can go through 100 pounds of lettuce a day. At that rate, they'll be ready for release in no time. Saving a full-grown manatee has its challenges, but just imagine taking on the responsibility of saving a 45-pound orphan baby.
Light, easy to move, no problem. Except, what do you feed it? You can't exactly go to the grocery store and pick up a case of manatee calf formula, so you create your own. And that's exactly what SeaWorld veterinarian Dr. Mike Walsh did for Pistachio, another baby manatee.
Pistachio was an orphan manatee. He was found in the Daytona Beach area. State biologists were observing him for a couple of days.
They were pretty sure the baby had been abandoned. No large adults were in the area, and no females were coming by. It's possible the mother fell victim to natural causes. Nobody really knows. The important thing was to take care of this helpless little manatee.
Pistachio came in as a tiny baby in the 40-pound type range. Now that's pretty small. Babies like this are born between usually 50 and 100 pounds, so he was even underweight for when he came in.
Getting manatees to their optimum roly-poly weight isn't as easy as it sounds. Most manatees come in dehydrated, so that's the first problem to solve.
And once he came in, we x-rayed him, we got weights on him, and we started tube feeding him.
We give them what's called a gruel substance, and that is like a spinach. It's ground up spinach and romaine lettuce and water. You go ahead and pump that into the manatee. I can guarantee you, again, about 99% of the manatees that come in here are going to have that done.
In between tube feedings, they train Pistachio to accept the bottle. Raising any baby is a 24/7 job, with feedings every 2 hours. And Pedro has plenty of experience with that. He's been a manatee foster parent more than once.
Oh my goodness. Come on down. There you go. Let's get you into position. Flippers down. We've been working on him pretty much round the clock, and he's understanding how to take the bottle. He's just learning now where to come over to get his bottles. That's why we slap the side of the pool. That lets him know that it's feeding time, and he'll come right over. It's kind of like ringing the dinner bell for him.
We like to get them up to 700 pounds. And the reason for that is when they go out into the wild, they have to be able to endure the cold weather during the winter. And that winter weather is a challenge to them if they're not nice and plump.
In Pistachio's case, the standard bottle mixture didn't work, so a new formula was created. The big question was, would it be enough to save him?
Well, Pistachio's formula was designed based on a couple of things. We know the babies can come down with intestinal problems. And prior to Pistachio, about half of the babies were lost with a type of disease process called pneumatosis intestinalis. What that is that you get air in the wall of your intestinal tract and it becomes dysfunctional. It just won't work. It can't pass food, it can't absorb food. And we knew that we didn't want to lose him like we'd lost some of the others, so we got on the internet and tried to find a new treatment.
Dr. Walsh got lucky. He found a treatment that somebody used in Ireland on a human with the same disease. It's called an elemental diet.
We got around the disease problem by using this dietary approach. So he had a very severe case of this disease, and yet he survived. We're batting 1,000 now, where we used to bat 500.
Rehabilitation can take a few days or a few years. In Pistachio's case, he stayed in the baby pool for about a year. When he was big enough and eating some lettuce on his own, he was moved to the main exhibit, Manatees, the Last Generation.
The important thing about that part of the rehabilitation process is that we have adult manatees there, and that's where he's going to start learning to really be a manatee. So far, all of the contact he's had has been with us, but we need him to know that he's a manatee and how to act.
It's all part of preparing an orphan for release. To survive in the wild, Pistachio had to be mentally and physically ready. Thanks to the dedicated team at SeaWorld, he was. He came in small, alone, and malnourished, and after 3 years of loving care, he left huge, healthy, and ready to join his own kind. That's not the only success story. Since 1976, SeaWorld has rescued over 250 manatees and released over 100.